This video is all about your major city in an LIC-NEE case study as part of your Paper 2 Urban Issues and Challenges section, and our case study is Rio. Now, Rio de Janeiro is located in southeast Brazil, which is obviously located in the continent of South America. Now, when we look at this, we mainly look at opportunities and challenges, but we also will look at environmental issues as well as urban planning in this LIC-NEE place. So first, we're going to look at the opportunities and challenges. I'm going to try and do opportunities in green and challenges in red. And like I teach you when we go through revision, I like to think of the opportunities and challenges in Rio as themes. So the first theme is health, the second theme is employment, the third theme is education, and the final theme is crime. Now, there's many other opportunities and challenges, but we've got to narrow it down to the ones we can remember the most, because we could get asked a 9 marker or a 6 marker on just the opportunities, just the challenges, or both the opportunities and challenges, or to what extent perhaps. So you need to be prepared and have all your evidence ready for your AO1 case study knowledge to show off what you know about Rio. Now, if we start off with health, the main challenge with healthcare in Rio is the fact that it's set on a steep hillside with a population that only has few roads, and the main access to the hospital is via cable car, and it's 13 kilometres away. So, what they did is they had door-to-door healthcare workers that was able to detect and treat 20 different diseases, which increased life expectancy and decreased infant mortality rate. Moving on to employment, informal jobs is both a good thing and a bad thing. We'll come back to that. People working as street vendors, as labourers, and they're earning a living, they're earning money. However, the problem with informal jobs is that the workers don't pay taxes, and therefore the government receives no income from them. And obviously, we know that in order for countries to develop, they need that income, they need that level of money to be able to put into things like infrastructure, healthcare, and education. We'll move on to education. The main challenge is children dropping out of school to live a life of crime, usually around the age of 14. So, to combat this, they put in place the Schools of Tomorrow programme, which encouraged local people to volunteer to help in schools with these students. It gave school grants, so money, so that poor families can help to meet the cost of keeping their child in school. And they also aim to improve the education for those people, sorry, that were in violent areas of the city. That links onto crime. There's lots of crime that takes place in the favelas, and one way to tackle that was the police pacifying units, which was the PPU. And they were established to reclaim the favelas from people like drug dealers, and also the police took control of the crime dominated areas, and regained that control to eradicate those gangs. Now, moving on to the environmental issues, and now the environmental issues, and we can split this into air pollution, water pollution, and waste pollution. Now, we're first going to look at water pollution. Now, this here is Guanabara Bay, and Guanabara Bay is highly polluted, which causes major threats to wildlife. Mainly polluted from the open sewers in the favelas, but also about 50 tonnes of industrial waste enters the bay each day. And overseas aid has been used to help reduce the amount of sewage. However, it's still not meeting the expectation that it would need to completely leave this pollution free. Now, that comes on to the 2016 Olympics, and why Rio is so important. Now, you could get asked a question about why your LAC-NEE major city is important. For example, Rio has multiple universities. Um, it also hosted the Olympic Games, and also the World Cup. So it's hosted worldwide events, which has attracted lots of tourism. It also is home to the Christ the Redeemer statue, which you'll all be familiar with. And lastly, it's quite an industrial hub. So link back to the 2016 Olympics and what's that got to do with Guanabara Bay? A lot of water sports, a lot of athletes were against competing in the waters because they were so polluted, and it was a major threat to the Olympics. In terms of air pollution, um, the city is covered in brown smog. This is because of heavy traffic and congestion on the roads, which causes a build-up of exhaust fumes. The improvements have been aimed at reducing traffic congestion to improve the air quality, but that's still underway. Lastly, we move on to waste pollution. Now, we know that there's narrow roads and steep hillsides and improper roads, which makes it difficult for waste lorries to access these areas. So most waste is therefore dumped, and it often goes back and pollutes the water system, as we've mentioned. Now, the green exchange system is a strategy to reduce this. collects waste and offers incentives for people bringing their waste to the workers, things like bus tickets, fresh produce, school books, in return for the people of the favelas bringing their rubbish down to be suitably disposed of. The last thing I want to discuss is urban planning. You could get a question about urban planning, and when you see this word, I want you to think of site and service and self help schemes. Now, the Favela Biro project is specific to our case study, and this is a site and service scheme where the local authority both provides the land and the services for residents to build the homes as well as equipment. Now, what they did here was they paved and formally named roads, they increased access to water supply and increased drainage systems for improved sanitation. They secured the hillsides to prevent landslides, or people relocated where necessary. They built new health, leisure, and education facilities. Um, and in addition to this, there was an installation of a cable car to the commercial centre, and each person that lived there had one free return ticket a day. Now, all of these things, all of this urban planning has increased quality of life. So we've got their increased health and happiness. It's increased quality of life for people. It's increased their mobility. They can get places. It's improved employment prospect of the inhabitants of the favelas, and because there's lots of developments made possible by that project. However, the budget of $1 billion US may not cover every favela. You know, there's not just one favela in Rio, and the newly built infrastructure is not being maintained. The residents lack the skills and the resources to make those repairs. So you've got this new fancy infrastructure, but nobody to be able to fix it when it doesn't go right. So just a quick recap then. The importance of Rio, multiple universities, hosted the Olympics, World Cup, we've got Christ the Redeemer, and then opportunities and challenges. You know, you could get asked just about opportunities, just about challenges, but remember the themes because that'll help you with the opportunities and challenges: health, employment, education, and crime.